Good afternoon. I am Richard Millett, the one and only. And this was the quarantine stream. We will now hear the that was the quarantine stream theme. Hope you're all doing well out there. Hope you're staying safe. And everything that entails. A little slow to start today. I hope that you don't mind. This was written about somebody who gave up. I haven't. I was in Philadelphia waiting for the maid. I glanced out the window down at kids younger than me, looking like I did when I was 16, comparing biographies, completing each other's fragments, exchanging glasses, freezing enzymes on magnets. I stopped by the swimming pool and flicked a few crumbs out of the water. The convention got postponed into a parade. The police misplaced the exit and were unsympathetic to the problems they had failed to protect. Like a dinosaur shell had fallen and cracked the Liberty Bell, whose continued drone quit cell phones and traffic. It didn't cease until a line was cut to the Bryn Mawr bricks, which had gone unrestored since 1936. And Carrie, you saw the same kids I did. You knew it had come to this. Carrie, hold out your hand. I don't want to reprint the sponsorship because what was necessary has now just become arbitrary. I was watching a movie with chapters of alleys separating the tombs and art that could be pointed to in the assertion to dance because that's when they can't aim at you. And you'd been waiting since 1934, sleeping at Hepburn's door, and I wanted to be related to Betty Davis. Carrie, hold out your hand because I don't want just entertainment. I want some dark victory to grace us. Those kids were rendered wet and recruited with the Tourette's of decade-old prints that took every context and ground it dull till there was no place left to articulate yourself through anything other than facts. Carrie, hold out your hand because the distractions aren't safe. Hold out your hand, your stage was my private place. Call oranges. Blue and red stripes lying on her bed, throwing chicken to the fish waiting to be fed. Flying fortress in the cold yellow light, electronic geysers marking the millimeters at night. The redwoods grew out of the lakes, then the horses and cougars came from apes, and after speaking formed their shapes. They wrote an alert, they planted themselves in the desert. The sky is one meal a day floating through hoarfrost. The orator utters proclamations under acid precipitation. Bodies and mind, yours and mine, our energy is our vocation. The truth, the purified milk came from the amalgamation. How to eat, to live, and sleep underneath, to see the silent actions and keep what we dream. Right now a machine exists to read your thoughts, and I'm called a fool. A fool is one who follows a stranger's rules. Stealing coal and jewels, feeding their fixation, altering their gestation. One man is not a nation. One woman is not a nation. My knife slipped through the ghosts of Enoch Powell and Ronald Reagan and into Abaddon's icy abdomen. This morning I went to work. There was a mouse on the road, running between cars, rolling over the snow. He got told by the acquaintance he doesn't know the real world. He told them, I don't think you know about the world outside your world. Because we've come here to annoy you. We've come here to destroy you. No flies on her, no skies on me, or our ulterior alchemy. A spirit doesn't have flesh and bones, you can see I do. A wave isn't solid, but can slice through and bury you. The floors in his basement began to crumble. And let me say, I won't eat meat if it causes my brother to stumble. And, my brother, why do you live in a state of degradation, pressing away atoms of inspiration, continuing this dissipation? You said you formed all light and darkness, evil and peace, but you made yourself deformed and obese, a member of the secretive police. Screeching seagulls drop their feathers on the sphere, two sets of twins announcing they're leaving here, and ferrying out to live inside the windmills. The fog is too thick to see the pinnacles. Blue, red, and gray stripes laying on her bed, silver ovens making new bread, flying fortress in the breaking midnight, electronic geysers signaling for continual flight. His voice was the sound of waves crashing, a rushing crush of reeds and snow from the soil to the sea's undertow, stentorian certainty slicing across boundless thrashing, clips of ships eaten in the liquid gnashing, surging and atomizing the land below, then breathing and sinking under the water's flow. With skin like apple pulp and wood grain, he stood next to a plane ascending, gasping through the tumult with a face of rain, each thought an unending refrain, each breath given infinite extending, each pause a fracture in his campaign. This is from 1997, and there's in the original version, it's from my book Political Glitter, and there's a racial epithet used. But you know, these things are written in character, and use is not endorsement. And hopefully, anyone seeing this would be intelligent enough to understand that sort of basic concept. And you know, we live in very stupid times. You can look at who's the president to see that. At any rate, this is, you know, this is about freedom. All of it's about freedom. So, this is called I Never Have Money. He got in the car just to drive away. It was 80s night on the radio, and he felt his eyelids quiver from the thoughts left in them. He always wanted to go out with one of the older kids, and he sped past her house to remind himself that the whole thing hadn't been fiction. He had to chew on tablets of ephedrine just to stay awake as he careened down a one-lane town. The clock read 2:14 a.m. Name another place where you don't have to worry about the come on your coat from the guy in back of you on the bus, or the weekend in Boys Town where you lost all your money, where you can die for the 50 stars and still get reborn, where you can vomit on someone else's tonsils and still go home with them for the night. And you know that when you got a dime bag in your lap and you can drive the service entrance to paradise, it's not a privilege, it's a birthright. He was always fascinated by the kids a few years older who looked coked up by the age of 13. The news had come from Washington. He had a fantasy he kept kissing her on her forehead. Oliver North had been acquitted and Fawn Hall wasn't to blame, just like when they arrested Manuel Noriega because he wouldn't pay cash for the shipping costs of all his cocaine. He pulled into Super K for some Coca-Cola and saluted the limp American flag on the way in. Rolling Stone had Bruce Springsteen on the cover, and he felt like he had razor blades inside his stomach. Somehow, everyone felt let down by the Gulf War. It wasn't as bloody as My Lai, it wasn't as funny as Grenada, and gooks weren't bombed in the process. The commodities and golden parachutes kept all the middle management well liquored up by the time Bush was giving his resignation speech. Voodoo economics and the crack epidemic sometimes made you wish that Nixon had been right all along, but this never seemed to bother him, and the national debt never meant shit to any decent citizens, especially not the kids who saw Heathers when it was still in the theaters. He got off the phone with one of his friends who complained that crack smoking was just a quote-unquote cheap ghetto high. The erythromycin was fucking up his liver, but at least it kept the acne off. He read a book about Charles Manson and figured the only difference between him and Nixon was a few years in jail and a copy of the White Album. But the thought of Squeaky or Sadie dressed in their black capes creepy crawling into someone's house was still freaky enough to keep him sleeping out on the couch. That night he had a horrible dream. Eric Estrada was hosting a beauty pageant at the Playboy Mansion featuring categories like worst facelift and most fucked up tit job. But he couldn't walk away from the spectacle of it all. All he could do was to slug down a bottle of Thunderbird and cradle a hard-on while slobbering, "I do believe I'm ready for the Playboy Mansion. I want to see Hef. Open up the goddamn gates." He woke up before the former First Lady wet t-shirt contest and ran to his car in horror. He flicked in the ignition and forced in a homemade tape, and while Everybody Wants to Rule the World leaked out, he thought about how much he hated those old political arguments that individuals are symptomatic of a sicker society. He came upon the Super K, the great beacon for people who are lonely and cheap, and admired its neon beauty against the black backdropped sky. He was looking sideways and feeling sick about what was smothering the rest of the land, strip mall upon strip mall, grids and rows of anonymous stores. He thought about how all this used to be a beautiful force and how disgusting it was that every developer was using their lunch hooks to get a portion of the profits. He felt his stomach tighten from the thought of another obese teen selling Swatch watches and sunglasses, but then he turned his head forward, away from the strip mall, and saw nothing but outstretched lanes and tree branches and unpainted roads, and he knew that he was finally getting ready to go home. So I'll say something now that I've never said before, and I never thought I would say, but, here we are. I had a sort of famous piece back in the 90s called Mindjacker that was criticizing Bill Clinton for being a member of the fake left, corporate left, being a nicer version of Reagan, a nicer version of the first Bush. And for years people had tried to get me to write a sequel to it, because like that one. And what nobody ever knew was I did write a sequel, and it was the piece that I just read. So now you know. It's called People. Excuse me. It's called People. I'm a young man, closed off in this room. My name, it doesn't matter. Where I'm from, I can't tell you. I always wanted to control my destiny, not share responsibility, so I could be free. They sent me off to college so I could learn the law. I met a lot of people, each one with a different cause. I turned myself to physics and astronomy to see if I could throw away the seeds they'd put in me. I drifted down to the south and I saw it was vast. I memorized equations on the eyeless ending sand. I knew that my superiors, they were very strong. They would put me up in space and never steer me wrong. But my expectations didn't fly, they kept me on the ground. The paperwork was drafted and I was shown around. They checked my past for arrests, my retinas were scanned. I hoped that there would come a day where I could take command. They made me go and lock the doors and cue the landing lights. It was a secret mission in the middle of the night. The burners started blaring, I crawled inside my suit, and I knew I wouldn't come back even if they asked me to. I am a young man closed off in this room. My name, it doesn't matter. Where I'm from, I can't tell you. I always wanted to control my own destiny. wanted to go and vanish up in the slipstream. The Emperor looked at the head of the horse, lifted his hand and picked out the brain, opened his mouth and smeared the remains. He dressed his servants as nymphs and pans. Little boys in the nude stayed in the pool to bite on his body while he swam. His sister said, "If breath is a blade, then desire's the cage. Claim your birthright before you're saved." Had his mother killed, made it a crime to laugh, attacked the statue whose clothes matched his own, his bleeding fists sunk into the gold. He memorized the lives of the gods. Jezebel stole him a tunic. He began planning his burial. At night he debated with Jupiter. He saw Palatine Hill. The volcanoes were calm before the Christians burned. Diamond-tipped shovels were used to pierce the columns and arches, jewels and violins. The violins on Palatine Hill played like birds colliding in the air. The torches flared. All the grain was set glowing. The senator's body rolled back on the sheets, his speech like a paused spasm, murmuring, "I'm nursing a viper." The rest of the ward willingly succumbed immediately. In the middle of the gymnasium were booths with men in bulletproof vests giving out ballots and voluntary vaccinations to guard against contaminants. While in line, you could read pamphlets on the issues or flip to pictures of festering boils. It's slippery and strange to walk alone. Sealed lips will keep the borders closed, and no infestations will travel north. Nothing to arrest security, just a curse to keep people in the grasp of liberty. The medicine was made with pearls dissolved in vinegar. The choice was made by pulling the lever. The searchlights were made for us by the protector. A thief entered. Everyone was aroused. The wife and kids looked at the head of the house. He opened his robe and threw a small bomb. Later, standing over the intruder's body, he thought through history and spoke his favorite quote, "I want him to feel like he's dying." Free grain for everyone who asks, free grain for everyone who enters. Wheat in exchange for marble, wheat for the state. She takes the leather, squirms in the saddle. The dust closes her eyes. I can see the jacket from here. Two girls climb the stairs, very poised and aware. They'd been here before, the Los Angeles smog against their backs. Two men arrive the next morning to drop off a pair of glasses and smear the window pane. The teenager can't make a sale, so he packs up his stereo equipment and his clock radio, exits out past the telephone pole. When they were done, they sat in the kitchen and carved up some watermelon. An hour later, they threw away their clothes. Young man in the backyard. The owner doesn't know he's there, taking a drink from the garden hose. He dropped his flashlight on the ground. He dropped his flashlight on the ground. All right. A couple of years ago, I wrote a thing. It was early 2017. And response to what had happened in November of 2016. You remember that, I'm sure. It was one of the times when my compass was certainly off. I don't know about yours. We had bought ice cream to celebrate victory, and we ended up not eating the ice cream that night. Not that Hillary Clinton was worth celebrating. Damn sight better than the reality show host and the Christian right fucking lunatic. I mean, I don't know. At least the corporate Democrat would have just been hitting a pause button, which is better than what we ended up with. Not that fucking much better. At any rate, all of this did not lead to visceral anger or jeering or memes about how stupid his hair and orange skin are. It was just sad, and it's still sad. So it's called Laughter at the Wake. Who are they? No, not that group of people we know from work, standing quietly on the side, who mention that there's been no sun in weeks, And how dreary this warm winter is, with bricks, trees, and street signs left dripping stained sleet. Why did they come here? No, not the distant relatives on the couch in the back corner crying and trading stories, who mention that there are so many clouds you can't see the sky, and that we can't hear the news for so much static in the airwaves, in exchange for a bill too low to pay, with tar dripping from the faucet. Why do they stay when it appears they only want to sneer at the mourner's tears and refuse to pick up the flowers they knocked over? What move can you take, since their skin is so thin they start screaming when asked to act their age? We can't tell them to leave. We can't, since they're family. But I see they're carrying on and shaking, and I'm disgusted they behave this way. You can't stop hearing their laughter at the wake. Listen to them gloating about voting against everyone's well-being, so thoughtless and uncaring that their liberty and future are at stake. I can't ignore the laughter at the wake. This is a two in a row I'm gonna do from a book I did last year called Citizenship. It's called The New Nature and Invisible Synthesizer. We know what we've seen, so much more water falling from the sky, making miniature lakes out of puzzles, and forming little rivers and gutters. New homes being built where the mudslides ran down the hills, quenching the forest fires. So many new islands and bays for animals to gather together, standing on one foot. New games being played as new trees emerge in marshes and parks form over landing strips. We know what we think about it. Never desecrate the body, never poison the water supply, never bathe in insecticides. See and think. Never barter for bacteria, never throw poison down the well, never desecrate the body. In a glass sink, the water can start to build its own walls and divide its own chromosomes. In a glass shower, the nozzle calcifies the water and organizes the deposits into clear lines. On a glass floor, spilled water pulls away from itself, towards the corners, towards the door. On a glass ceiling, the water can reform into pointless droplet paintings. We know what we see and what we think. The plane lands by the grace of the titanium hand. A fog of whispers dissolves over a stack of prayer stones. A stiffened spine, completely covered in seafoam. Closet full of striped clothes, coated in cast iron. The titanium hand has no stains or scars. The titanium hand instantly uprooting thunder from clouds. The harvest, the bounty of the harvest, reaping the bounty into plastic bags. Endless handfuls of beautiful blueberries pressed against plastic bags. The plane ascends by the grace of the titanium hand. The grid is powered by the grace of the titanium hand. Vertical waves powering on offline equator. Vertical waves swirling inside color-coded numbers. The harvest, the bounty of the harvest, reaping the bounty into plastic bags. Endless handfuls of beautiful blueberries pressing against plastic bags. Twitching fingers and tapping feet remain untamed. The harvest, the bounty of the harvest, reaping the bounty into plastic bags. Endless handfuls of beautiful blueberries pressing against plastic bags. Vertical waves powering an offline equator. Vertical waves coiled around the axis. Running is a blessing, is refreshment, is restoration. Restoration is the key, the moment of demonstration. The harvest, the bounty of the harvest, reaping the bounty into beautiful bags. Endless handfuls of beautiful blueberries pressing against plastic bags. The titanium hand gives me the strength to rest through all these years. It's called Diamond Mine. Water rushing so fast it looks like knotted wood, its sound a ceaseless perpetual crash in static blue and black. Droplets burst over the plank's sides and dot the dirt or land on kicked-out bricks, and from the ravine's opposite angle the water seems to glide clockwise, rolling ever nearer toward the gears, and into the factory where 7 years previous the core of the industry sunk unexpectedly early, and like a defense attorney the treasurer ruled the materials used were archaic and their methods unrealistic, and as demand seized up the foreman and night shift technicians acidly joked, they were laboring within the Great Repression. For ages it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured by a flood started in the diamond mine. We know. It's either tacitly implied or we're told outright. You can't be seen like that. You need lights. When money is exchanged and you're finally responsible and realistic, you can't be seen like that. You need lights. Know the value of being articulate and reconsider your obscure subject. You need to stay in the lines. You need to revise. Realize the need to eliminate images that would be unwise to present or ideas you'd be unable to defend. Why persist if honest people cannot implicitly understand? You can't be seen like that. You need lights. For years it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured from a flood that started in the diamond mine. Back in the head office, on the desk next to the coffee, scissors, and gold pen set, was a black leather envelope, and that morning's newspaper, whose subheadline read, "Forget Forgetfulness," and detailed a local photographer who makes elaborate, enormous, near-twin gelatin prints of events, one real and one staged, and described the effect as painting over paintings. When asked by the reporter who will get this, the photographer remarked, "Anyone who misses being pure, or ever imagined placing one point in time over another, anyone who pictures the shape of ideas and not the shape of their mind, anyone who sees a crowd and tries to find the people in disguise." Later, the paper lay open to the crossword puzzle, and among answers written in indeterminate script were asides like, "Does purpose follow appearance? Where is this from? Reasons better than because," and finally, "Determining what to become." There are mosquitoes in this world that fly around and land on dying animals. Animals that don't have to be dying, but nonetheless are. Endangered species, perhaps. And they land on them, and they suck, and they suck, and they suck, and they suck, and they suck until there is nothing left. And there's no accountability for these mosquitoes. They just fly to the next soon-to-be carcass. With that in mind, now more than ever, this is cruelty-free heroin. When the Guardian goes mad, the sun rains against their eardrums, indistinguishable from Morse code tapping on a copper plate. Yes, when the Guardian has gone mad, they're found singing love songs to tanks, draping staircases and flags, breaking car windows to decorate their faces with the glass. When the Guardian goes mad, they're captured pushing a pickaxe into an LED screen and detained for threatening to throw snakes at gas station attendants. When the Guardian goes mad, people suddenly remember to turn on AM radio and patiently follow guidelines before filing a full report. Though there are always doubters and passers-by who start conspiracies. The usual being that this was a false flag or a planned distraction. And then they wrap their cell phones in tinfoil, right, Ghislaine? If the Guardian goes mad, they'll arrive at every award ceremony with a mirror in hand and a ribbon under their chin and make demands to review the voting process when they don't win. If the Guardian goes mad, they'll rue the day they lost control of their relationships, spending weeks hiring staff to bury paperwork they'll insist doesn't exist. If the Guardian goes mad, all their meals shall consist of orange peels pulled from chain-link fences and burned coffee flavored with molded peach preserves, though there are always doubters, ready to offer up some plausible deniability, ready to give an opinion of unverifiable proof, summarizing the death and maps are the only real measures of impact. And can you imagine being that sick? If the Guardian cracks up, they'll spend bleak days envisioning trees committing suicide, grandmothers doing crystal meth for the first time, and gnats smeared into toothpaste. If the Guardian cracks up, 7 strangers stuck in a bank will claw at each other to seek cold air in the vault and wait for their families and firemen to arrive and dig them out. If the Guardian cracks up, pirates will walk their own planks and devour themselves once they hit the water, thrashing back at their gnashing teeth, running the seas red until hunter and prey are finally won. Ignorance, arrogance, the pest control man said unto me. When I was in Japan, I bought cherry bread in a can. I opened it with a knife and slid off the wrapper. The air bubbles stayed floating in my mouth, and I rolled them around until I returned back to the West. Bliss, tolerance, the pest control man said unto me. Sometimes my apartment building turns into a vending machine, and I get deposited out into the evening to provide goods and services for lucky couples with good taste and a few wandering dollars to rub together. All right, y'all doing out there? Having fun? Any requests? It's called, actually, let's skip ahead a little. It's called Would You Sell the Relics? The general that only cares about tomorrow also expects everyone to echo the same expression, and when the general can no longer see the power of their influence, they try and exert control over any small circumstance under their command. While the brigadier general worries to no one if they need a transfusion. The colonel, who's concerned that not enough people's fingerprints matches theirs, requires a warning on the front page of each report, along with a summary cut together by a subordinate in a matter of minutes, so they don't have to waste any energy generating contradictory thoughts. While the captain enters their coordinates so their location is known and updated every moment, which leaves the captain free to make discoveries like the wheel or gravity, then sell their findings to the executives or campaign staff of their choice, urged by a strong sense of benevolence, a tribute to charity as a force. And the first lieutenant's unmatched love of history is proven by the pictures taken of their parents with Goebbels in Brazil in the 70s. And the second lieutenant's jealousy shows and grouses to one, "That's not Goebbels, it's clear it's Martin Bormann." The sergeant major that reset the standards of esprit de corps doesn't know the panic they'll feel a few short years later when they are urged out of the way, or that they'll become stiff with resentment and resolute in their calls for punishment, and institute measures to monitor how the company behaves, while the staff sergeant writes on a photo of themselves, "The future points to you," and daydreams about collecting the remaining virginities from the sorority house down the road, and they already have the names, ages, and weights in a frequently updated database. Then the staff sergeant complains about commercials before content. The chief warrant officer who breaks ranks to research the order the alphabet was created in gets rueful about seeing themselves age and attending charity events, funerals, and hospital visits, seeing their face in the mirror more washed out than before, wondering as they write their commencement address who will even be paying attention in the audience. Drinking from puddles, seeing what the sky says, not being able to read handwriting. As children, they received a small puzzle in the mail. And to the private, it's all an eye roll, and all so boring and shallow to see another round of legacy shut out by an offhand remark. The private doesn't ask any of the officers where they should start. What's the matter where rebellion is kitsch and trauma is Walmart? The specialist greets the private. They each think the other is a dilettante. And later the specialist considers, what's the matter where you have 1,000 followers and not a dozen supporters? Would you sell the Relics? called Part of Your Colors. Her eyes open while she pretends she can feel her fontanelle. She might have thought that she might be Poe's person or her cousin. She read the news, fear of law and God and man, an infinite dynamic loop. She was one image at a time, so she thought she was a person, right? She wrote some news. Platitudes aren't solutions and fill space between waves. Now I'm new. She also knew that the feeling of being new was always something that she could circle back around to. And now more than ever, I've been living like the whole FBI died in a Kool-Aid mistake. I've been keeping a time bomb in my shoe so I know that my watch is correct. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I've been up all night burning my bridges, making jokes about ex-friends' fetishes. I won't tell you to hold on or say you don't deserve what you get. You won't ever see me take the first step. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I got a floorboard in the garage. I've been overstimulated. I've been sore. I got away alive and sane. I didn't get strangled or sane. I got away alive and sane. This is one possible ending. And then we're going to do the glory that is passing for white. Or we could do a whole sort of white. We'll do. I like that. What's it? Yeah. No. So this is. We'll do. I never knew how white I was, and then we'll do. And then we'll do. I'm sorry, not I never knew how white I was. Apologies. This is speeding into a red light. They don't know about my addictions. They shouldn't speak as if they do. I get sick without their opinions. I feel great relief when they provide valid, contradictory proof. I keep my feet straight, then came the fish. I pledge my devotion of abstinence. The titanium is parallel, like my mind to the lathe. My heart is a piston, my feet and tongue triggers. My will is a safe underneath 20 feet of cement and railroad track. What has your contribution been? Out, out, out. Don't disrupt my headset. Don't distract me with lights. I want action and motion, not your plans. I defeat these shrugging cretins. I accept what is certain. Out tonight, only dealing in facts, eliminating any glacial pace on my path. The cocked gun on my lap is a reminder to keep perspective when looking for beauty in the land of the free. Holy shit, that fucking tower blew up quick. Wow, there's no time to check if anyone innocent is trapped inside of it. I have to clear this fucking area pronto or they won't let me stay at the hotel tonight, and I'll have to sleep outside. Fuck that. I ain't no new recruit. You and I in black sloshing through the lake, underneath the forest reserve, trickling up our legs. They don't know what we do. Private joy in a quiet moment, drinking Pepsi in my tent. The moonlight on your cylinders, and I in dark green, lets me know what a wonderful world it can be. I'm first! Out, 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 out now! Me, I'm first! Now, we shall do one possible ending and passing for white. The morning started with the Lord Mayor looking through my garbage, then running down an alleyway, guardsmen lining the fire escapes. I was at the airport selling luggage and pleasantries. A 20-year-old let me finish his breakfast in exchange for a letter from his university. With so many people watching slow-motion explosions, I've started turning my sights towards unfiltered colors and unretouched images. The unwalked world where cures for disease sleep unnoticed in Brazilian trees is a word problem I can't solve. With so many people watching slow-motion explosions, I've started adjusting to diagrams, drafting tools, and handmade copper crowns. There are already enough code breakers for the next Cold War. More feathered hats and white suits in the lobbies of the finest luxury hotels that Europe has to offer. More handcrafted sports cars to speed along the smoothest roads that man has ever known. More than enough gold to flake into steaming broth with sumptuously verdant acres of passing for white. Collar crime! You've used it before, posting signs pointing to the closest church. If coffee's cold, he stayed up all night to see himself dancing on television. The church is closed, to be reopened by the mayor's cousin in construction, the glistening grocery store, the tavern with daily fashion shows. He set up a conference call and he's trustworthy because he looks like me. Big white belly like me. The hotel with large chunks of missing bricks. The police station next to a building with a taped sign in the window that says, a law firm. The truck enforcement officer standing in the oncoming lane, his arms outstretched in ecstasy, overseen by a smiling baby that somehow is able to say, I could smile 12 weeks from conception. I show my hand. I know. I always show my hand. Meanwhile, it's out of my hand! 2 cars, 3 spaces apart in the White Castle parking lot. One man each gets out. On the left, he's wearing jeans and a flannel shirt and a cowboy hat. On the right, in a charcoal gray business suit. They walk in a V-shape, meet at the door with a handshake and a heated conversation. The corners of the cowboy's mouth start to bubble and foam. As she's wobbling down the sidewalk, her skin-tight clothes somehow hang off her. And she's watched by a man in a tracksuit holding a cell phone to his ear in silence. 20 feet away, the party crew pulls a U-turn. As she's wobbling down the sidewalk, Lance Romance throws 20s at the guys waving away fruit flies, then shows his pupil. Why, this is the finest fire extinguisher you will ever find. The party crew spots the car wash, and oh, they get in line. They watch the jets bubble and foam, pretend that they're superheroes with unlimited powers to make bubbles and foam. Theranos Industries deployed a prick-approved ecosystem agreeing on a settlement for widespread future technology, such as accusingly and secretively resisting her bloodletting company. Watch it bubble and foam! Frozen in place, the beer can, hair extensions, pubic hair, bondage wear, eagle eyes, white fumes, flying fingers, tops and bottoms, middling kingdom, gamblers of choice. I'm in a flood zone. Watch the bubble and foam, where form follows steam and bourbon follows cream. Bubble and foam over the safety warning. The crude delights set one sweat glands reeling. With a shark tooth covered in pudding, the owner urges everyone to look out the window at the condo, the tow truck, the victim, the night, the uniform, the camera, the newspaper, the bank, the park, the yard, the new restaurant, as if he's got some psychic powers. He was taught the meaning of versatility, respect for the law, trust for fistfights, and an arid humor that snorts debris when under the advisement of controlled enforced idleness. How you guys doing out there? Having fun? I think it's time for one of these sorts of businesses. This is 2 Franciscan nuns. Excuse me. Chewing mint leaves while crossing the Calumet River, the paper mill's exhaust pipes interrupt the vista. Mules waited with surge protectors, hairspray, and cassettes. A riverboat of morphine-addicted ghosts over there on the left. 2 Franciscan nuns wanted to build a hospital, but settled for organizing games of chance. In their hotel rooms, they squeeze out extra acidic orange juice and excommunicate people with unpleasant names from the phone book. 2 Franciscan nuns helped decorate an admiral in the pensioner's home after he'd misplaced his uniform. They blessed his pills, kissed his parakeet, and as he slept, gathered sets of his false teeth to sell at the swap meet. But you know, folks, right? A brain with blood and oxygen is better than a fish who talks. What some people see as skin discoloration is in fact the natural pigmentation when viewed from inside. Some newspapermen have always known this, and indeed have nothing to hide. Might as well. Sympathy for the Cowboy. Sympathy for the Cowboy, all alone on the range, After the war ended, he was forced to change his name. Sympathy for the Cowboy, holding his dying brother, who begged with his last breath, "Tell mother I died with honor." Sympathy for the meth lab and all who fight in harm's way, who hope to abolish minimum wage and charge only $15 a day. Sympathy for modern times and those who argue they're right. Sympathy for the victim who has all the laws on their side. Sympathy for the student who's only lived in theory in a hammer and sickle t-shirt walking away from the barricade. Sympathy for the lawsuit and all who fought for reform. Sympathy for the bumper sticker telling you to be reborn. Sympathy for the stallion running free and too wild to ride. Sympathy for the guy who tried. His wife cried, him and his foolish pride. Sympathy for the strawberry and the trial separations, press releases pleading for privacy and doing it for the kids. Sympathy for the nihilist sucking on his cigarette, cutting you off in traffic, no constraints of guilt or regret. Sympathy for the stalker on his computer outside, looking at pictures of you in high school, saving each one even if it takes all night. Sympathy for the cowboy whose son moved off the ranch, said he might be coming back soon if there's no change of plans. This is a new razor. We are not teachers. We are not cops. We have no reputation to flaunt. We are the examples. We are not special. We are not gods. We are only following laws. We are the examples. We don't nurse vipers. We don't reinforce liars. And in the event we are questioned if we seeded the list, the answer is it's ours to make invisible if we created it. We don't debate. We don't walk through walls. We can carve six-sided stars, pyramids, and women with 3 arms. We are the examples. We have apples and candles on our table. No wine, no fatted calf for meat, no lamb grazing in the field, no oil and water on our feet. We are the examples. We are not tension aimed in one direction. We are not a flashlight. We only have a lantern, no manifesto. We're trying to prove right. We are the examples, and we are ruled by none. Ever, ever, ever! I'm gonna actually see how things are going. Hey. Oh, there we are. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. You guys have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, do you? That's okay. Alright. Enough of that. It's called I'm Dancing with the Skeleton Key. I'm dancing with the skeleton key pinned under my belt the night after I'd had 2 simultaneous dreams in ocular split screen, one where a white-tailed fawn galloped to my front door and another where my brother couldn't sleep. I'm dancing with the skeleton key tied on a twine cord around my neck, remembering when my sister was locked in a minivan and stranded in a parking lot outside of Austin. She kissed the window and ate the tape in the cassette deck. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in my unopened mouth tucked behind my wisdom teeth and obscured by my tongue. I have memories that my sister still won't believe, and I miss the 20th century. It could have been so much better. I'm dancing with the skeleton key, scotch taped to my arm. When I was in school, the vice principal gave himself a heart condition trying to figure out who had stolen from the convenience store, then boasted about it on the blackboard. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in the grotto of a dilapidated Catholic church, where the priest once confessed to me that after each funeral he performed, the only way he could raise his spirits was by making uneasy music with the organist. I'm dancing with the skeleton key, concealed in an alley, while bells chime at midnight near the railroad, and kids with no curfew dodge between dashing headlights on their way to play hide and seek in the park. I'm dancing with the skeleton key, laid on the floor of a garage, while my brother draws out diagrams on poster boards, connecting lines from consequences of thoughts to isolated islands of thinking divided by unintentional regression of actions. I'm dancing with the skeleton key while I'm safe at home, looking at sealed bags of clothes that I stopped wearing years ago while I was running for mayor on an unconfirmed platform of leaking information about the governor. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in an adjacent office because the evidence my brother uncovered just got delivered to the lawyer, and he predicts it will make the judge jump and remove any condemnation from his mouth. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in a strip mall that used to be a swimming pool, and before that a man-made hill that covered demilitarized waste trucked over from a Floridian base, and it will still take 100,000 years before any of it reaches its half-life. I'm dancing with the skeleton key clasped tightly in my hand as I watch my sister in the mirror speak sentences with one word and plant orchids next to power lines in the backyard. Then she dots the driveway with empty jars to accurately measure the rainfall. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in my pocket, moving loosely with me. My brother used to cry bitterly to our parents every time he got a ticket, refuting each offense, denying that he did any of it. I'm dancing with the skeleton key, sliding uncomfortably in my shoe, but the nuisance helps give me the presence of mind to always hold up what I was taught, that when the rent is due, it's better to be full and well slept than to hand over a blank check. I'm dancing with the skeleton key, pressed into a book, watching Leaves in the Wind and a novelist at a press conference performing fake sign language, hoping it will get him the attention he wants for trying to revive the printed word. Slow boat to China. The razor skin fell on the seat. The roof had been gouged out by a key. The exits were guarded. A few numbers were written down, typed out in a foreign language, all the product of inflation. The casino's slot machines paid out with surf music and a 20-minute ring. The plumber knocked on the last room of the far wing and was tipped with uneaten meat. I keep trying to leave, but I only get more inside. I made it out of the garage only to be stuck behind a foreigner with $1,000 hubcaps on a $50 car. A girl climbed up the mic, and before she got numb, asked them how they could stand the climate. She was from California, never was snowed on, getting stopped by trains 20 miles to 5 miles, then down to 3, ranging from dour to catatonic to irate. Can't tell a building from a train. Everyone drives through except for me, though. I stopped the frame. I took the wrong exit, driving into the marching band display, and wrote my senator complaining to his face. He wrote back saying, "Yes, son, it's about time we did things your way." Everybody's an altar boy, looking for a lampshade to make straight, some Sunday spending money, a free robe, a thimble out of the river, because they made their case. Trees grow faster in the city, according to the study. The nutrients depleted my body. No electricity is going to open that door. Ice is slow and not enough to keep my attention. My attention. Everyone acting like an altar boy, dragging their disagreements on the streets, stopped slow and coy, using their vestments for sheets. A few quick turns, and pleas for a reward. But the holding cell is empty. I don't choose to open it today. I paid to replace the battery and cancel my appointments. The dentist charged me a late fee. The neighbor watched his lawn instead of TV. And here's the moral of the story. I put my dinner in a glass. I filled it with water, drank half and left the rest. I threw in some safety pins to see how fast they'd rust, and after 6 months there were still no results. This is a room service, so don't be nervous. They arrive every year this time. They put swimsuit on, they tell jokes and get the punchlines wrong. We set up the continental breakfast and watch the elevators come down. Before the wake-up calls, we're cleaning the halls. The tables are heavy. We vacuum the lobby. The rest of the morning, we're washing silverware and folding towels. I have to work a double tonight. I'm tired, but I don't mind. At least I'll get some overtime. But by 9, it seems like this shift will go on forever, because it feels like I'm living in a non-stop dream. The lights are always on. I can't sleep or run away, because I'll get in trouble. I can't believe they stiffed me on a tip. I carried their luggage to the street. This is real, so bite my lip and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back! back. I get so frustrated when they ask me to repeat things because of my accent and then say, it's so cute the way you speak, and I have to listen to some woman complain about the thread count of the sheets. I don't want to work tonight, but I really don't have a choice. I have to make what I can now because I won't be young forever. Because it feels like I'm living in a non-stop dream. The lights are always on. I can't sleep or run away because I'll get in trouble. I can't believe they forgot to fill the pool with chlorine. Second time this week. Not my job, but they still complain to me. This is real, so bite my lip and smile politely as I can. Yes, I understand, ma'am. My heart really gets racing when their kids throw things. I can't wait to go home, but it'll be okay because it's either this or the Spoon Factory, and I can't wait to go home tonight. This is a poem of liberation that I wrote when I was 18 years old. It's called Neil and Bobby Sock It To Me. I greet the puppies with a smile and attempt to comb my hair for a while. I idle my time on a red velour sofa. It's not mauve, it's not puce, it doesn't look anything like you. It's ugly, it's red, it's got plastic cushions. I spilled my apple juice on that sofa. Or is it a love seat? Or is it a futon? It might be a bidet for all I can see, but whatever the hell it is, I don't want to sleep on it or eat your chocolate cake anywhere near it. I don't even want to go in your house because your dog humps my leg and your boyfriend picks my teeth and your dad chews my eyelash and there's not 1 inch of floor space clean enough to lick. You turn my water brown. You see now Granddad dresses like a clown. He's got a big red nose that's not nearly as revolting to that sofa. So by the way, quit following me down the hall or hitting on me on the toilet stall, because any house with that much Elvis on velvet won't find me on their front porch swing or their Norman Rockwell painting. But then again, maybe I will drop by dressed in armor and a satin hat with some flowers for the maid and cocktails for the cat that never got me in the sack and a muzzle for that fucking dog. And I'll cut out your nose hair and put it on your pancakes and yell, "Supper, sir!" so the butler can take a night off and throw some darts at Granddad. And for dessert, I'll serve pigs in a blanket garnished with spaghetti Suzette with some lighter fluid and a lock of your ma's pubic hair to torch that fucking sofa to the ground, because it ain't Art Deco no matter how hard you try to swing it, and the vinyl siding may go up in flames, but it really ain't little pink houses after all now, is it, toots? Guys having fun out there? Well, this one is very fun. This is called Animals. You soak the carpet in lingo, scratching the hair off your arms. You kicked out the stranger, ridiculed the superstitions he held on to. You lie restless, staying clean, wiping sweat, and I think about this quite a lot. Pressing the grooves of my fingerprints into my forehead, sending an idea that reminds us both. Hell, there was another plan. In crumbles of sugar, I saw a wild motion. I hunched towards it. I looked at it happening. It felt like a parade. Elephants awake and gallant. I had been so nerve-stacked, the loops of my heartstrings matched my eyelashes. I wore a royal blue jacket with gold sleeves. There was a swirl that came from the trumpets, a triumphant chaos of repeating. There were banners hung from the tusk. My fingers had gone purple from clutching the baskets next to me. American Gothic didn't have this many thorns or any sepia tones to run on. I was welcomed in the house. I ate the cracker offered. The speech heated steadily. I found a pit of flower seeds. The displays had chanting and chips of bone and silver, a collection for the prison and dried hides of hunters. There wasn't an explosion, but then the ground bled. I swam through the cracks. The plants had red stems. I want to be new roll-on straw, get my ribs bit by a tiger. I have memories about you, that cackle. I can see you bumming a cigarette from your grandkids with a sizzled mouth and bald patch. When you were younger, you were springing your superhero underwear, but you couldn't be my life. We never paid rent to each other, and there's so many people who don't know where to go to battle. I can climb to the top of the bungalow, just like Mark Monday, and jump off the second level, kick my legs on the way down, and get strawberry Italian ice at Freddy's after. I can climb into a Nova And when my foot goes through the floorboard, I'll flag down a passerby, pay for a ride on the thresher. Wolves that land can burst into fire. Deer protect themselves, and bears break into grain silos. Rabbits are the rats of the desert and crawl to eat the mice on the plains. And when the evening is still and quiet, all the candles are glowing violet. The sultry air makes you drop your cares, your doubts, and your frowns. You descend the stairs and head into the town. Walk through the leafy glade, float on the ground beneath you, walk all night with your gaze fixed on your lover's face. Sing a song of love that you learned from above. Dream of her caress, the nape of her neck, and know that you'll never part. When the evening is still and dark, light remains in your heart. You feel so free, smashing on Wii you could be skipping stones all alone in the night. Walk through the leafy glade, float on the ground beneath you, picture her delicate face, and ring the bell at her gate. Sing a song of love, feel your joy soar like a dove, and when you're at home reading her poems, you know that you have found someone who can make all your dreams come true. It's called 1001. I was traveling across the Missouri. I saw the floods. The water waved like eyelids draped over the heavens. I came to the caverns and lit a fire. I left a drawing of my own, an elephant with a broken back. A 6-year-old cracked some sticks and made a puddle of wine. In the fog hovered the pestilence, dusted with cicada wings and bats. The cockroaches had incisors and ate a meal of matchsticks. I met the mayor. We watched a lunch line kick a dog. We stole light bulbs from the factory. We wrote a novel and a play and then burned it all. Let me tell you about starving and lust in your mouth, because I never missed a meal and I won't start now. I never seen that many rodents migrating south, and 10,000 blood vessels turned inside out, and 20 boats capsized, and a Chinese dragon get caught in an updraft, windshields and storefronts snapping in half. On the battlefield, none of this is real. My hands have been sliced open with leather and steel. Rivulets of blood and dirt cover my scabs and wounds. I spun on my heels and I look around at the land. I was surrounded by dead bodies, and I had to believe this wasn't part of the plan. So I threw down my gun and I yelled at the sky. I said, God, you bring whatever hell you want to on me, because I'm not afraid to die. And the earth's rotation sped up and I cried out, hallelujah! I saw squirrels and worms clinging to the dirt, almost paralyzed, and cannons started flying forward, and lightning blinded my eyes, and I saw the door on either side, and I was not terrified. I saw the path I had to take for the rest of my life. Lightning projected onto an infinite expanse of space. Every instinct played without fear of fate. An imperceptible mist keeping me awake. Blue air, blue skies, blue land, radium and spring water, holding reservoirs in my hand. And then I come to, with my brother standing over my face, crying because he thought I was gone, and I bolted upright and, using his shoulder, leapt to my feet, and I ran away hollering, will there be liberty or judgment? And are you going to look for a drink in the dry riverbed? Do you want to be cleansed in dusty rocks? Try to wrangle yourself out of chains and just get crusted in flakes of rust? That man over there don't care about what happens to you or who you pledge your duty to. Will you toil in drudgery when honor and dignity will stop you from crawling? Will you accept death's sting and impassively function like a ghost, like a legging on the Great Spirit? Or will you cast off this burden, this bondage, and find joy in better things? Death, I take the trumpet from your mouth. I drown out your sound. I puncture your drum. I will not march, and I will not watch. The fear overcomes me, but I shall not succumb. I will continue to laugh. Death, You will not seize my spirit while I sleep. I will stand victorious over your sarcophagus and bury it in Stickney. I will use my will at your most evil. I will starve instead of choking on your cattle. I won't keep any secrets, and I will stand as I am. In the front of the market, cars were floating away. Wind was fiercely blowing. The flags were hoisted, faces filled with roiling rage. An ambulance sped by. A deer was tied to the top. The school nurse broke through the front door, used her hands to dig into the ground, then emptied the contents of her purse out. She fled hysterically. Searchlights pierced the day. Sirens of silence buzzing mutated into stillness. Birds gathered in small circles. Trees and roads looked sore. People's chests and arms bruised. I saw a signal from the window and took a picture for proof. I counted the change in my pocket. I remembered Tony and Mima's phone number. I was a boy and they couldn't get me off the swings, and now I can fly, so I never stop. I always would wish to observe overhead, weightless, straightforward, irresponsible, endless, adroit, fast, far above, picking out the doves from the seagulls. And I wonder who will fall for fuel and travel to another coast in a nameless group and export a bullfrog to the mountains and sell paper towel from their patio and cancel the credit of the branch vice president and kick a Honda in the grill and pluck staccato strings for the score and steal toothbrushes from CVS and spread their legs for the solution and hang naked from a tree in Ibiza and write a slogan that fits on my wrist. Darling Darlene, the loveliest woman that she's ever seen, writing down her customs in a blank diary that she'll barely read. Darling Darlene, loveliest woman that I've ever seen. And now it is shall we it's called outsider envy. When I didn't eat because I was afraid of being fat, when I stopped combing my hair because I didn't care, because it was beaten or mocked out of me, I never knew and had no way of knowing when they were calling me fat or a fag. This is the second act, and it's dedicated to everyone I've survived. This is the second act, and it's dedicated to everyone who has survived. Because now they have outsider envy. They want it so badly to cop a little piece of being picked last for the team or never invited to the party and use that as a basis of an argument that too many people have too many rights, risk their future because they can't work out how to bully back. So they try and cop my attitude, my references. They used to beat me and now they've got outsider envy. And now I don't have hair, and I still don't fucking care. And we will survive you. You can't bee me with one lane of news. You can't bee me trying to swim up a clogged stream. You can't bee me making billionaires happy. You can't bee me trying to relive the 80s. You can't bee me when you've got outsider envy. This is the second act. And you still don't have to worry about being black, and you wouldn't trade spots if you could, but you try to cop a little piece of their pain, snidely working some slang, advertise for blue lives who are authorized to satisfy your cravings. And the question is, what's your joke? Boil down your building and pretend it's a community with a creative culture, but it's just a Burger King. It's just your fucking latest costume. This is the second act, and take a good look. Take a good look. Because I'm what your future's supposed to look like. And the future is for everyone who survived you, which really isn't that fucking hard to do. This is the future, and the truth, too. Everyone knows the story about the emperor's new clothes, but what if the emperor disrobed, and his subjects in court were aghast or disinterested in his state of undress? And what if he defiantly stood there fucking naked anyway? And on that note, folks, this can only close in one way. And I think you know what that way is. is, of course, Citizenship. Well, it's easy for your mom to spend Friday night trying to lecture the TV while half asleep, continuously saying, let it all breathe, where she's not the one out there trying to brave the wind, trying to walk across that wing with just a 4-foot stick of balsa wood to help her keep her balance. The Tsar's personal physician put the saddest surgery in bed, called his staff around and explained this could be the end. But he's really not certain because he's just been too depressed with the prospect. At least that's what you thought, he said. But you were quite distracted by the kissing couple out on the observation desk. And you got yelled at for sleeping during a meeting by the head of marketing. But you didn't feel any guilt as you explained that you'd been sin-free since the night before. And the head of marketing agreed and closed the door and started to rub your shoulders and talk about opportunities for advancement. And the private still cannot figure out how to break ranks or how to help your mom fill out a loan application or get a new sticker for her license plates. And the two of you prepare for their weekend leave by getting hair extensions and hitchhiking back to the hospital. You've been reading diaries, you've been reading autobiographies, you've been writing long treatises out on graph paper. You've been condescending to your enemies. You've been giving easy answers that argue that there are no easy answers. You've been running forensics on untabulated statistics. You've been staring at a man buzzsawing down a tree thinking anyone but me. You've been miming to a marching band, not playing a single note all season. You've been looking at the apple in your hand, hoping to know how you'll find another. And you have stolen mail from your mother. You've been looking at a fence thinking enough of this. You've been back to the hospital staying after hours in the maternity ward, laying newly minted silver rectangles on newborns' chests. You've been counseling dry drunks. You're mirror to sovereignty and whoever picks apples for free. You've been painting large unfinished arcs on your foyer walls while in expensive new clothes. You've been nearer to sovereignty and whoever spreads apple seeds for free. You've been barefoot while feeding skunks. You've been seeing your reflections in cardboard. Let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across the wing, watching flotsam from Beechcraft Model 18s rotate overhead, amazed how machinery so heavy can defy gravity. Let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across the wing, watching jettison pollution floating in the Indian Ocean in utter disbelief how the laws of nature can be defied so carelessly. You are a wing walker, closer to sovereignty, closer to picking apples for free, closer to crashing the fence, and closer to opening books. You are a wing walker. Know the full scope of that, trying to make a future full of stars, wishing you weren't feeling so far. You're a wing walker, closer to sovereignty, closer to spreading apple seeds for free, closer to swimming naked, closer to learning languages. You're a wing walker, trying to make a future full of stars, wishing you weren't feeling so far. But they found me! Realistically resembling myself and fully alive in a different year. Questions were drawn to determine how I appeared there. I explained I went to sleep because I couldn't function being constantly awake. Theta waves turning back on themselves, spindle waves with no chance to crest, and slow waves never close to arriving. A wing walker craves immunity to maintain sovereignty, feeds on concentration to maintain sovereignty, brushes memories to maintain sovereignty. Theta waves are just the start. Spindle waves to stand you straight up, and slow waves to safely deposit you back on the shore. A wing walker needs clear vision, and to be free of poison, you have to know where to turn on the lights before you go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. All right. And that is another exciting edition of the Quarantine Stream. We hope that you've enjoyed it, everyone. Again, I am Richard Millett. And, all my wonderful books and films are available at fluxlifeinc.com. Endless amounts of material. endless hours of enjoyment. And by the grace of God, we will be back next week. Another exciting episode. But until then, let us hear again of the quarantine stream theme, shall we?
Life is but a dream in the quarantine stream.
Beautiful. All right, folks. Stay safe. Stay smart. And stay free. Because you already are. God bless. Good night, everybody.